Stop saying basic English. Native speakers don't talk like that. If you're joining us for the first time, I'd love to share that we post a fresh English learning video every single day. Our goal is to help you boost your fluency and sound more natural. In today's episode, you'll not only sharpen your listening skills but also level up your speaking and writing proficiency simultaneously. Today, we're diving into a highly impactful and practical topic that can completely transform how you communicate in your daily life: over 200 essential phrasal verbs for everyday English conversations. These are the very expressions native speakers rely on daily. Incorporating them will make your English sound significantly more fluid, natural, and confident. Throughout this lesson, we'll explore real-world scenarios that illustrate exactly how these phrasal verbs function in day-to-day talk. You'll discover how to use them when discussing your daily routines, your job, your emotions, your future plans, and your past experiences. I'll walk you through this step by step so you can master these expressions and effortlessly weave them into your own sentences. Many learners find phrasal verbs a bit tricky at first, but don't fret. By the time we finish this video, you'll feel far more comfortable and self-assured using them in actual conversation. We'll also be practicing together, which will train your brain to think in English rather than relying on translation. Before we jump in, make sure you've subscribed to the channel and hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss out on more helpful lessons like this one. We're here every day to support your language journey. So, take a deep breath, clear your mind, grab a pen and paper if you'd like, and let's begin this learning journey together. Let's kick things off with something natural and straightforward. Think about how you start your morning. In authentic English conversations, we rarely stick to formal verbs. Instead, we frequently use phrasal verbs. These are simple combinations of verbs with prepositions or adverbs that alter the meaning entirely. You'll find them everywhere in day-to-day English. Today, we're going to build your understanding step by step in a relaxed, easy-to-follow way. Once you wake up, one of the most common phrasal verbs you'll hear is wake up. For instance, you could say, I wake up at 7 a.m. every day, or I woke up late this morning. It's one of the most basic phrasal verbs, yet also one of the most useful. Now, let's introduce another one, get up. They sound similar but carry a slightly different meaning. Wake up refers to the moment your eyes open, whereas get up is when you actually step out of bed. So, you might say, I woke up at 7 o'clock, but I got up at 7:30. Can you tell the difference? That's how natural English works. Let's keep moving through your morning routine. After getting up, you might turn off your alarm. For example, I turned off my alarm quickly because it was way too loud. Turn off implies stopping a device or machine. Its counterpart is turn on. For instance, I turned on the lights because it was still pitch black. These two are incredibly common in everyday situations. After that, you might wash up. This means cleaning your hands and face. You might hear people say, I need to wash up before breakfast, or he went to the bathroom to wash up. Another common one is put on, which just means wearing something. You could say, I put on my clothes quickly because I was in a rush, or she put on her jacket before heading outside. Let's take a breath and practice together. I'll say a sentence, and you can repeat it in your head or speak it out loud. Visualize your morning. I wake up early. I get up slowly. I turn off my alarm. I turn on the light. I wash up. I put on my clothes. Take a moment. Repeat those once more and try to catch the rhythm of the language. This is how you develop fluency, not by memorizing dry rules, but by practicing natural patterns repeatedly. Moving on, after you're ready, you might make up your bed. This just means tidying your bed neatly. For example, I always make up my bed before leaving my room. It's a very common daily habit. Then, you might go out. For example, I go out for a walk in the morning, or I went out to pick up some milk. Another important one is pick up. It has many meanings, but in daily life, it often means to collect something. For instance, I picked up my phone when it rang, or I need to pick up some groceries on my way home. You can see how versatile this phrasal verb is. Now, let's tie these into a mini story. Listen closely. I woke up at 7 a.m. I got up a few minutes later. I turned off my alarm and turned on the lights. Then, I washed up and put on my clothes. After that, I made up my bed and went out for a short walk. On my way back, I picked up some fresh bread from the store. That is real English, simple, authentic, and packed with phrasal verbs. Let's practice again, but this time I'll pause a bit longer so you can repeat after me. I woke up early. I got up quickly. I turned off my alarm. I turned on the light. I washed up. I put on my clothes. I made up my bed. I went out. I picked up some groceries. Great. Take a deep breath, you're doing fantastic. Now, let's move to another part of your day, breakfast. You might sit down to eat. For example, I sat down and had my breakfast. Sit down simply means to take a seat. After you eat, you might clean up. For example, I cleaned up the kitchen after breakfast. This means to make the area tidy. Another useful phrasal verb here is run out of. This signifies that you've exhausted your supply of something. For instance, I ran out of milk this morning, or we ran out of sugar. This is a phrase you'll find yourself using quite often in real conversations. Let's practice with a short, conversational sequence. I sat down for breakfast. I realized I had run out of milk. So, I went out again. I picked up some milk. Then, I returned and cleaned up the kitchen. Notice how these phrasal verbs help you speak more fluidly. Instead of overthinking, you just follow the natural flow. Continuing on, after breakfast, you might head out for work or school. For example, I headed out at 8 a.m. This simply means leaving or starting your journey somewhere. A similar one is set off. For instance, I set off early to beat the traffic. Now, visualize the whole situation. I woke up early. I got up quickly. I turned off my alarm. I washed up and put on my clothes. I made up my bed. I sat down for breakfast, but I had run out of milk, so I went out and picked some up. Then I came back, cleaned up, and headed out for work. That's how English flows, simple actions connected by phrasal verbs. Let's do a slightly deeper practice. I'll guide you to speak this in your mind. Say this slowly. This morning, I woke up at. I got up at. I turned off. I turned on. I washed up and put on. I made up. I went out and picked up. Then I came back and cleaned up. Finally, I headed out. Pause here and fill in these sentences with your own day. This is how you make English personal and impactful. Let's add a few more useful ones for your daily conversations. Look for means to search. For example, I was looking for my keys this morning. Another one is find out, which means to discover information. For example, I found out that the meeting was cancelled. You can even combine them. I was looking for my keys and then I found them under the table, or I looked for information online and found out the answer. Let's practice again. I looked for my phone. I found it in my bag. I found out something new today. Very good. Keep going. Another key phrasal verb is come back, meaning to return. For example, I came back home in the evening. Also, go back, which means returning to a specific place. For example, I went back to the store because I forgot something. Let's connect more ideas. I went out in the morning. I came back home later. Then I went back to the store. Do you see how natural that sounds? Take a moment, relax, and repeat everything in your head. No need to rush. Fluency grows slowly but steadily. We're just getting started, and you're already learning so many useful phrasal verbs you can use in real life today. Keep listening, keep repeating, and keep visualizing your own daily routines. Let's continue building your fluency step by step. Now that you've practiced some basic phrasal verbs for your morning, we're going to delve deeper into your daily life, specifically, how you communicate, interact with others, and handle everyday tasks using natural English. Imagine arriving at your workplace, school, or anywhere you meet people. One of the most common phrasal verbs you'll use is talk to. For example, I talked to my manager this morning, or I need to talk to you about something important. It's simple, yet very powerful in day-to-day chat. Now, let's add another, speak up. This means to talk louder or with more clarity. For example, can you speak up? I can't hear you. You'll hear this often when communication isn't clear. Another useful one is come in. For example, please come in, or she came in late today. It just means to enter a place, and its opposite is go out, which you've already learned. So, you could say, he came in quietly and then went out after a few minutes. Let's build a short, real-life scenario. I came into the office. I talked to my colleague, but he asked me to speak up because it was too noisy. Now, pause and repeat that slowly in your mind. Feel the flow. Let's move through your day. You often have to deal with situations. This is a crucial phrasal verb. Deal with means to handle or address something. For example, I had to deal with a difficult customer today, or she deals with problems very calmly. Now, let's pair it with another one, work on, which means to focus your efforts on a task. For example, I am working on a new project, or I worked on my English speaking skills today. Listen to this example, I came in early. I worked on my tasks and I had to deal with a few problems. That is exactly how native speakers talk. Let's slow down and practice together once more. I came in. I talked to my colleague. I spoke up clearly. I worked on my tasks. I dealt with a problem. Good work. Keep going, you're developing real fluency. Now, let's continue with communication-related phrasal verbs. A common one is call back. For example, I will call you back later. This means returning someone's phone call. Another is pick up, which you already know, but in a different context. For example, she didn't pick up the phone. You can combine these, I called him, but he didn't pick up, so he called me back later. Repeat this slowly, this is how you train your brain. Another useful one is hang up, meaning to end a phone call. For example, don't hang up, I need to tell you something, or he hung up suddenly. Listen to this conversational example, I called her, but she didn't pick up. Then she called me back. We talked for a while, and then she hung up. This is natural, everyday English. Now, let's move into social situations. When you meet someone unexpectedly, you might run into them. For example, I ran into an old friend at the market. Another is get along with, meaning to have a good relationship. For example, I get along with my coworkers very well. Listen carefully, I ran into my friend yesterday. We talked for a while, and I realized we still get along very well. Repeat that slowly, I ran into my friend. We talked. We get along well. Excellent. Now, let's continue. Sometimes you need to help out, which just means assisting someone. For example, I helped out my colleague with a task, or she always helps out her friends. Another useful one is figure out, meaning to understand or solve a problem. For example, I couldn't figure out the issue, or I finally figured it out. Let's connect them, I helped out my friend, and together we figured out the solution. This is how phrasal verbs naturally combine in real-life talk. Let's practice again, I helped out. I figured it out. We solved the problem. Take your time. Repeat it again. Now, let's move to another situation. Sometimes things don't go as planned, and you might want to give up. This means to stop trying. For example, don't give up. Keep practicing. Another one is keep on, meaning to continue. For example, keep on learning. Keep on trying. Listen to this motivational example, I felt tired, but I didn't give up. I kept on practicing my English. Now, repeat that. Feel the emotion. I didn't give up. I kept on going. Very good. Now, let's add another important phrasal verb, take care of, which means to look after someone or something. For example, I take care of my responsibilities, or she takes care of her family. Now, connect it, I work hard. I take care of my tasks and I don't give up. This is powerful, simple English. Let's go a bit deeper into daily life. Imagine you're busy and need to manage your time. You might say catch up. This means to reach the same level as others or to do something you missed. For example, I need to catch up on my work, or let's catch up later. Another one is fall behind, which is the opposite. For example, I fell behind on my work because I was sick. Listen carefully, I fell behind last week, but today I am trying to catch up. Now, repeat, I fell behind. I need to catch up. Excellent. Let's bring it all together in a longer daily life story. I came into work early. I talked to my manager and worked on my tasks. I had to deal with a few problems, but I didn't give up. I kept on trying. Later, I ran into a colleague, and we helped each other out. Together, we figured out a solution. I realized I had fallen behind on some work, so I stayed late to catch up. After finishing everything, I called a friend, but he didn't pick up. He called me back later, and we talked before hanging up. This is real, conversational English, natural, connected, and full of useful phrasal verbs. Take a moment. Pause. Close your eyes if you'd like, and visualize your own day. Try describing it using these phrasal verbs. Don't worry about making mistakes. Just keep going. Say this in your mind: today, I came in. I worked on. I dealt with. I talked to. I helped out. I figured out. I didn't give up. I caught up on. This is how you train for fluency, step by step, using real-life language. We're building a strong foundation. Now, we'll continue with even more useful phrasal verbs for discussing feelings, plans, and everyday occurrences. Let's keep going. You're doing really well. Now, we're moving into another essential part of daily English, talking about your feelings, emotions, and personal experiences. This is where phrasal verbs become even more impactful because native speakers constantly use them to express how they feel in a natural, relaxed way. Let's start with a very common one: cheer up. This means to become happier or to help someone else feel better. For example, I was feeling down, but my friend helped me cheer up, or cheer up. Everything will be okay. Now, let's add calm down, which means to relax after feeling angry or anxious. For example, I needed some time to calm down after the argument, or just calm down and take a deep breath. Listen to this simple situation: I felt stressed, so I tried to calm down. Later, I talked to a friend, and it helped me cheer up. Now, repeat slowly: I calmed down. I cheered up. Good. Keep going. Sometimes you feel excited or happy about something. You can use look forward to. This is a very important phrasal verb. For example, I'm looking forward to the weekend, or I look forward to meeting you. Another one is end up, which describes the final outcome of a situation. For example, I planned to study, but I ended up watching a movie. Listen carefully: I was looking forward to studying, but I ended up getting distracted. Now, repeat: I looked forward to it. I ended up doing something else. That is very natural English. Let's go deeper into emotional expressions. Sometimes you need to open up, which means to share your feelings. For example, it's hard for him to open up about his emotions, or she opened up to me about her problems. Another one is bottle up, which means to keep your feelings inside. For example, don't bottle up your emotions, it's better to talk about them. Now, connect them: he didn't open up, he kept everything bottled up. Repeat that slowly: he opened up. He bottled up his feelings. Very good. Now, let's move into situations where something surprises you. You can use find out, which you've already learned, but now in an emotional context. Another is turn out, which indicates how something ends up. For example, the day turned out better than I expected. Listen, I was worried at first, but everything turned out fine. Now, repeat, it turned out well. Excellent. Continuing with reactions and feelings, sometimes you feel tired or exhausted. You can use wear out. For example, the long day really wore me out. Another is burnout, which is a stronger version, meaning extreme exhaustion from excessive work. For example, he burned out after working too hard. Listen carefully, I worked all day, and it really wore me out. Now, repeat, I was worn out. Good. Keep going. Let's talk about motivation and effort. Sometimes you need to push through, which means continuing despite challenges. For example, I felt tired, but I pushed through and finished my work. Another is keep up, meaning to maintain the same pace or level. For example, it's hard to keep up with everything. Now, connect them, I was tired, but I pushed through, and I tried to keep up with my tasks. Repeat, I pushed through. I kept up. Very good. Moving into social emotions and reactions, sometimes you need to get over something, which means recovering from a problem or negative emotion. For example, it took me time to get over the disappointment. Another is move on, which means to continue with your life after something ends. For example, it's time to move on and focus on the future. Listen, I was upset, but I got over it and moved on. Now, repeat, I got over it. I moved on. Excellent. Let's build a longer emotional story using these verbs. I had a stressful day. Initially, I felt overwhelmed, so I tried to calm down. I talked to a friend, which helped me cheer up. I realized I had been bottling up my feelings, so I decided to open up. Later, I found out things weren't as bad as I'd thought. Ultimately, everything turned out fine, even though I felt worn out. I pushed through and finished my work. Now, I'm ready to move on and focus on tomorrow. This is natural, smooth, and emotionally expressive English. Let's practice again, slowly and with feeling. I felt stressed. I calmed down. I cheered up. I opened up. I didn't bottle up my feelings. I found out something new. Everything turned out fine. I was worn out. I pushed through. I got over it. I moved on. Take your time and repeat it again. This is how you build confidence. Finally, let's move into planning and decision-making, another vital part of daily conversation. A common phrasal verb is plan ahead, meaning to prepare for the future. For example, I like to plan ahead for my week. Another is think over, which means to consider something carefully. For example, I need to think it over before making a decision. Listen, I planned ahead, but I still needed to think things over. Repeat, I planned ahead. I thought it over. Good. Another useful one is go with, meaning to choose an option. For example, I decided to go with the first option. And turn down, meaning to reject something. For example, I turned down the offer. Connect them, I thought it over and decided to go with a better option. I turned down the first one. Now, repeat, I went with it. I turned it down. Excellent. Let's wrap everything up in one natural, daily life flow. I woke up feeling a bit stressed, but I tried to calm down. I planned ahead for my day and thought things over during the day. I worked hard and pushed through my tasks, even though I felt worn out. I didn't give up. Later, I talked to a friend, and it helped me cheer up. I opened up about my feelings instead of bottling them up. Finally, everything worked out, and I felt ready to move forward. Now, take a pause and visualize your own day again. Mentally use these phrases to build your own sentences. Speak them slowly. Today, I felt I made an effort to stay calm. I perked up. I became more open. I didn't suppress my feelings. I persevered. I got past the hard times. I moved on. You are training your mind to process thoughts in English. That is the secret to fluency. Keep at it. We are building a solid foundation together. We'll now dive into more phrasal verbs tied to travel, movement, and the daily errands you handle when you go out, socialize, and navigate life. Let's push forward. You're developing a natural and fluid command of English. We are shifting our focus to a very practical aspect of daily conversation, moving around, traveling, and running errands outside your home. Phrasal verbs truly shine here, as almost every action we take involves them. Imagine walking out your door. One of the most frequent verbs is step out. For instance, I stepped out for a few moments, or I need to step out to take a call. This simply refers to leaving a location briefly. Another staple is head out, which you've encountered before. Let's practice using it more naturally. You might say, I'm heading out now, or we headed out early today. Now, let's link them. I stepped out for a bit, then I headed out to catch up with a friend. Repeat this slowly. I stepped out. I headed out. Perfect. Keep going. Now, let's discuss transportation. When boarding a car, bus, or train, use get in. For example, I got in the car and left. To leave the vehicle, use get out. I got out of the car near the store. Listen closely. I got in the car, drove for a bit, then got out near the market. Repeat, I got in. I got out. Excellent. Another vital pair is get on and get off, used for buses, trains, or planes. For example, I got on the bus at 8 o'clock and got off at the next stop. Listen. I got on the bus and got off by my office. Repeat, I got on. I got off. Very good. Let's keep going. When arriving at a destination, use show up. For example, he showed up late, or she didn't show up at all. It means to arrive, often unexpectedly or behind schedule. Another useful one is drop by, meaning to pay a brief visit. I dropped by my friend's house yesterday. Link them. I showed up late, but I still dropped by to say hello. Repeat, I showed up. I dropped by. Good. Let's move to daily errands. To visit a place quickly, you might say stop by. For example, I stopped by the store on my way home. This is a staple of everyday conversation. Another term is pick up, which you're familiar with, but let's apply it to daily transit. I picked up some food on my way back. Listen, I stopped by the store and picked up some snacks. Repeat, I stopped by. I picked up something. Excellent. Now, let's talk about navigation and movement. A key verb is go along, meaning to continue in a certain direction. For example, go along this road and take a left. Another is turn around, which means to reverse your direction. For example, I turned around because I forgot my keys. Listen carefully. I went along the street, then I turned around and headed back. Repeat. I went along. I turned around. Very good. Let's carry on. Sometimes you need to look around, which means to explore an area. For example, I looked around the market, or we looked around the city. Another is check out, meaning to inspect or explore something. Let's check out this new place. Link them. I looked around the area and checked out a few shops. Now, repeat, I looked around. I checked it out. Good. Keep going. Let's cover situations where things happen unexpectedly. You might run out of something, as you've learned, but now in an outdoor context. I ran out of cash while shopping. Another one is come across, which means to find something by chance. I came across an interesting book. Listen, I ran out of money, but I came across a small cafe and decided to rest. Repeat, I ran out of something. I came across something. Excellent. Let's talk about heading home. Besides come back or go back, you can use head back. For example, I headed back home after a long day. Link them. I headed out in the morning and headed back in the evening. Repeat, I headed back. Very natural. Let's assemble a longer, real-life story using these verbs. I stepped out of the house this morning. I headed out for work. I got on the bus and got off near my office. I showed up a little late, but it was fine. After work, I stopped by a store and picked up some groceries. I looked around the area and checked out a new cafe. Later, I got in a car and headed back home. On the way, I ran out of cash, but I came across a small shop that accepted cards. Finally, I got out of the car and went back home feeling relaxed. Take a moment to visualize this clearly. Now, let's practice together. I stepped out. I headed out. I got on. I got off. I showed up. I stopped by. I picked up something. I looked around. I checked it out. I came across something. I headed back. Repeat again slowly. Feel the rhythm. Let's add a few more movement verbs. Walk around, like I walked around the park. And hang around, meaning to linger in a place without a specific goal. We hung around after the meeting. Listen, I walked around the park and then hung around with my friends. Repeat, I walked around. I hung around. Good. Another key verb is move around, meaning to change your location. I moved around the city a lot today. And sit around, which means doing nothing. I don't want to sit around all day. Mentally connect them. I didn't sit around. I moved around and stayed busy. Repeat, I didn't sit around. I moved around. Excellent. Take a deep breath. You're doing great. You aren't just memorizing verbs, you're learning to think and speak in authentic English. Now, imagine your own day outdoors and describe it mentally. Today, I stepped out. I headed out. I got on. I got off. I stopped by. I picked up. I looked around. I came across. I headed back. This is how fluency becomes instinctive. Keep at it. We're building a strong foundation. Now, we'll explore phrasal verbs related to food, shopping, and everyday interactions. Let's continue. You're building momentum, and your grasp of phrasal verbs is becoming more intuitive with every step. We're moving into another vital part of life: food, shopping, and common interactions. These are daily occurrences. Native speakers use phrasal verbs constantly in these moments. Imagine you're hungry. A common verb is eat out, meaning to dine at a restaurant. I like to eat out on weekends, or we ate out last night. Now, add grab something, which means to get food quickly. I grabbed a sandwich before work. Link them, I didn't have time to cook, so I grabbed something quickly. Or, I decided to eat out. Repeat slowly, I ate out. I grabbed something. Good. Keep going. Let's move to ordering food. A useful verb is order in, meaning to have food delivered home. I was tired, so I ordered in. Another is take away, which means to buy food to eat elsewhere. I got some takeaway and went home. Listen carefully, I didn't want to cook, so I ordered in. Or, sometimes I take food away. Repeat, I ordered in. I took it away. Excellent. Now, let's discuss cooking. Heat up is useful, I heated up some food. Also cut up, meaning to slice into pieces, I cut up some vegetables. Link them, I cut up the vegetables and then heated up the meal. Repeat, I cut up. I heated up. Very good. Let's move to shopping. When browsing, you often try on clothes. I tried on a jacket. Another is pick out, meaning to select something. I picked out a nice shirt. Listen, I tried on a few items and picked out the best one. Repeat, I tried it on. I picked it out. Excellent. Let's continue. Sometimes you pay for items. I paid for my groceries. Then you check out, meaning to finalize your purchase. I checked out at the register. Link them, I picked out what I needed, paid for it, and checked out. Repeat, I paid for it. I checked out. Good. Let's move to situations where items aren't available. You can use sell out, meaning something is gone because all stock was sold. The product sold out quickly. Or run out of, which you know, the store ran out of bread. Listen, I wanted to buy it, but it sold out. Repeat, it sold out. Very natural. Now, let's talk about returns. You might take back an item to return it to the store. I took back the shirt because it didn't fit. Another is give back, meaning to return something to a person. I gave back the money. Link them, I took back the item and gave it back to the seller. Repeat, I took it back. I gave it back. Excellent. Now, let's talk about social interactions. You might wait for someone, I waited for my friend. Or meet up, which means to get together socially. Let's meet up later. Listen, I waited for my friend and then we met up. Repeat, I waited for. I met up. Good. Let's keep going. When you spend time together, you might hang out, which is spending time casually. We hung out at a cafe. Another is catch up, used here in a social sense. We caught up after a long time. Link them, we hung out and caught up. Repeat, we hung out. We caught up. Very natural. Let's construct a longer daily story using these verbs. I felt hungry, so I decided to eat out. But first, I grabbed something small because I was in a rush. Later, I met up with a friend and we hung out at a cafe. We ordered food and talked to catch up. After that, I went shopping. I tried on a few clothes and picked out what I liked. I paid for everything and checked out. But one item didn't fit, so I took it back the next day and gave it back to the store. In the evening, I didn't feel like cooking, so I ordered in and relaxed at home. Pause and visualize this. This is your life in English. Now, let's practice again. I ate out. I grabbed something. I ordered in. I took it away. I cut up. I heated up. I tried it on. I picked it out. I paid for it. I checked out. I took it back. I gave it back. I met up. I hung out. I caught up. Repeat slowly and with feeling. Let's add more verbs for daily interactions. Bring up, meaning to mention a topic, he brought up an interesting subject. And talk over, which means to discuss, let's talk it over. Listen, we met up and brought up some important topics. We talked everything over. Repeat, I brought it up. We talked it over. Excellent. Another is come over, meaning to visit someone's home, come over this evening. And drop off, meaning to leave someone or something at a place, I dropped off my friend at home. Link them. My friend came over and later, I dropped him off. Repeat, he came over. I dropped him off. Very good. Take a deep breath. You're building natural English step by step. Now, imagine your own day and describe it. Today, I ate out. I met up with friends. We hung out. We talked things over. I picked out clothes. I paid for them. I came home and ordered in. This is how you stop translating and start thinking in English. Keep going. You're doing great. Next, we'll explore phrasal verbs for work productivity and responsibilities. Let's continue. You're building a strong connection with English now, and your ability to use these phrasal verbs is growing naturally. We'll focus on work productivity and daily tasks, situations where these verbs are essential, whether you're talking about your job, your studies, or your to-do list. Let's start with a common one, start off, meaning to begin. I started off my day with an important task, or let's start off with something simple. Now, add carry on, meaning to continue, I carried on working even after lunch. Link them, I started off early and carried on working throughout the day. Repeat slowly, I started off. I carried on. Good. Keep going. Now, let's talk about managing tasks. A useful verb is take on, meaning to accept a duty. I took on a new project. Another is deal with, which you know, used here in a work context. I had to deal with a lot of tasks today. Listen, I took on a new responsibility and dealt with it carefully. Repeat, I took it on. I dealt with it. Excellent. Let's move to finishing tasks. Finish off means to complete something. I finished off my work before leaving. Another is wrap up, also meaning to complete, often at the end. Let's wrap up this meeting. Link them. I finished off my tasks and wrapped up the day successfully. Repeat. I finished it off. I wrapped it up. Very good. Let's keep going. Sometimes you need to keep up with your work, meaning to stay on track. I try to keep up with my assignments. Another is fall behind, which you know, I fell behind because I was busy. Listen, I fell behind for a few days, but now I'm trying to keep up. Repeat, I fell behind. I kept up. Excellent. Now, let's talk about improving skills. You can use work on, which you know, or build up, meaning to improve gradually. I am building up my confidence. Another is brush up on, meaning to refresh a skill. I need to brush up on my English. Link them. I am working on my skills and trying to build them up. I also brush up on my English every day. Repeat, I worked on it. I built it up. I brushed up on it. Good. Now, let's move to communication at work. You might bring up a point. I brought up an issue in the meeting. Or point out, meaning to explain clearly. She pointed out a mistake. Listen, I brought up a problem and my manager pointed it out clearly. Repeat, I brought it up. She pointed it out. Very natural. Let's carry on. Sometimes you need to go over something, meaning to review. I went over my notes. Another is look into, meaning to investigate. I will look into this issue. Link them. I went over my work and looked into the problem. Repeat, I went over it. I looked into it. Excellent. Now, let's discuss deadlines. You might need to catch up on work. I need to catch up on my tasks. Another is get through, meaning to complete something difficult. I got through a lot of work today. Listen, I had a lot to do, but I got through everything. Repeat, I got through it. Very good. Let's move to teamwork. You might team up with others. We teamed up to finish the project. Or help out, which you know, we helped each other out. Link them. We teamed up and helped each other out. Repeat, we teamed up. We helped out. Excellent. Let's build a longer work-related story. I started off my day early. I took on a new project and worked on it carefully. I had to deal with several problems, but I didn't fall behind. I tried to keep up with everything. I went over my notes and looked into some issues. During the meeting, I brought up an important point, and my manager pointed out a few improvements. Later, I teamed up with a colleague and we helped each other out. Together, we got through all the work. In the end, I finished off my tasks and wrapped up the day feeling satisfied. Pause and visualize this. Let's practice again. I started off. I carried on. I took on. I dealt with. I finished it off. I wrapped it up. I kept up. I fell behind. I worked on. I built up. I brushed up on. I brought it up. I pointed it out. I went over. I looked into. I got through. I teamed up. I helped out. Repeat slowly. Take your time. Let's add a few more for responsibilities. Take over, meaning to assume control. She took over the project. And hand in, meaning to submit. I handed in my report. Link them. I finished my work and handed it in. Later, someone else took over. Repeat, I handed it in. She took over. Very good. Another is set up, meaning to arrange. I set up a meeting. And carry out, meaning to execute a task. We carried out the plan. Listen, I set up a plan and carried it out successfully. Repeat, I set it up. I carried it out. Excellent. Take a deep breath. You're doing well, learning to express work situations in English with clarity. Imagine your day and say it mentally. Today, I started off. I worked on. I dealt with. I brought up. I looked into. I got through. I finished off. I handed in. This is how you shift from basic to fluent English. Keep going. Now, we'll continue with verbs related to relationships and communication. Let's continue. You're making steady progress, and your grasp of phrasal verbs is becoming more automatic. We'll focus on relationships and conversation, essential areas for connecting with others. Let's start with get along, meaning to have a good relationship. I get along with my neighbors, or they get along very well. Now, add fall out, meaning to have an argument and stop being friends. They fell out over a small issue. Link them, we used to get along well, but then we fell out. Repeat slowly, we get along. We fell out. Good. Keep going. Sometimes you want to repair a relationship. Use make up, meaning to reconcile after a disagreement. They argued, but later they made up. Another is sort out, meaning to solve a problem. We talked and sorted things out. Listen, we had a disagreement, but we sorted it out and made up. Repeat, we sorted it out. We made up. Excellent. Now, let's move to conversations. Bring up is useful in a social context. She brought up an interesting topic during dinner. Another is talk about, which is simple but very common. We talked about our plans. Link them, we met and brought up different topics. We talked about many things. Repeat, we brought it up. We talked about it. Very natural. Moving on, let's explore how to address communication challenges. Sometimes you need to clear up a situation, which is to resolve any confusion. For instance, let's clear up this misunderstanding. You're also familiar with figure out, meaning to solve something. We tried to figure out the issue. Listen, there was some confusion, but we cleared it up and figured everything out. Repeat, we cleared it up. We figured it out. Excellent. Let's talk about difficult conversations. Occasionally, someone might break down, meaning they lose emotional control. She broke down while we were talking. You already know calm down, which is to become composed. He tried to calm down before he spoke. Let's connect these. He almost broke down, but he managed to calm down. Repeat, he broke down. He calmed down. Great. Now, let's discuss planning with others. A very common phrasal verb is meet up, which you know. Another is get together, meaning to socialize. Let's get together this weekend. Listen, we decided to meet up and get together for dinner. Repeat, we met up. We got together. Moving on, when you want to stay in touch, use keep in touch. Let's keep in touch. Another useful one is reach out, meaning to make contact. I reached out to an old friend. Connect them, I reached out to him and we decided to keep in touch. Repeat, I reached out. We kept in touch. Next, let's look at supporting others. Stand by someone means to provide support. I will stand by you. Another is look after, meaning to take care of someone. She looks after her younger brother. Listen, I stood by my friend and looked after him when he needed help. Repeat, I stood by. I looked after. Now, let's construct a longer story using these. I have a close friend. We usually get along well, but we occasionally fall out over small matters. When that happens, we talk through the issue and try to sort it out. We always make up eventually. Recently, we met up and got together for dinner. We brought up many interesting topics and talked about our future plans. Even when we disagree with each other, we listen carefully and attempt to understand. If any confusion arises, we clear it up immediately. We also make it a priority to keep in touch and reach out regularly. I always stand by my friend, and we provide each other with support during difficult times. Take a moment to think about your own relationships. Now, let's practice together again. I get along with. I fell out with. I made up with. I sorted it out. I brought it up. I talked about. I listened to. I heard from. I agreed with. I disagreed with. I cleared it up. I figured it out. I met up. I got together. I kept in touch. I reached out. I stood by. I looked after. Repeat slowly, and take your time. Now, let's add 2 more useful phrasal verbs for conversations. Cut in, which means to interrupt. He cut in while I was speaking. And carry on, meaning to continue. Please carry on. Listen, she was talking and someone cut in, but she carried on. Now, say it after me. He cut in. She carried on. Another useful one is speak out, meaning to voice your opinion strongly. She spoke out about the issue. And back up, meaning to provide evidence for support. He backed up his argument with facts. Connect them. She spoke out and backed up her opinion. Repeat, she spoke out. She backed it up. Take a deep breath. You're doing great. You're learning how to communicate naturally in English using the phrasal verbs that native speakers use daily. Visualize your own conversations and repeat these to yourself. Today, I talked to. I brought up. I listened to. I agreed with. I cleared up. I reached out. I kept in touch. This is how fluency becomes part of your mindset. Keep going. Now, we'll continue with more phrasal verbs regarding problems, challenges, and solutions, so you can express yourself confidently in any situation. After finishing my work, I circled back to a few tasks I had overlooked. By evening, I returned home, unwound, and settled in to relax. Now, take a pause and visualize your own routine. Let's practice together again. I got up to. Something went on. I started off. I set off. I ran out of time. It took up my time. I put it off. It was called off. I went through. I carried on. I fit it in. I squeezed it in. Something came up. Something turned up. I got back to. I wound down. I settled down. Repeat slowly. Absorb the rhythm. Now, let's incorporate a few more helpful phrasal verbs regarding time and routine. Hold on, which means to wait, for instance, hold on a moment. And hang on, which is similar, as in, hang on, I'll be right back. Now, let's link them. Hold on, I need a second. Hang on, I'll finish this. Repeat after me, hold on. Hang on. Excellent. Another is come along, meaning to progress. For example, my English is coming along well. And keep up with, which you've already mastered. Now, keep listening. My skills are coming along, and I'm trying to keep up with my practice. Now, repeat, it is coming along. I keep up with it. Very good. Take a deep breath. You're doing great. You can now discuss your daily routine, your time, and your schedule using natural English. Visualize your day once more and say it to yourself. Today, I woke up. I started off. I set off. I ran out of time. I got back to. I wound down. This is how fluency becomes second nature. Keep going. We'll move on to the final group of phrasal verbs and a comprehensive review, so you can confidently apply everything you've learned to real-world conversations. Let's proceed. You've reached an advanced level and are nearly ready to master a wide range of essential phrasal verbs. We'll broaden your usage further and then synthesize everything, allowing you to use these expressions naturally, smoothly, and confidently in everyday dialogue. Let's start with a very useful verb, bring about, which means to cause something to happen. For example, studying English daily can bring about positive change in your life. Now, let's add another, come about, which means for something to occur. For example, how did this situation come about? Now, let's combine them. Hard work can bring about success, and positive results come about over time. Repeat slowly. It brought about change. It came about naturally. Good. Keep going. Next, sometimes you need to come up against something, meaning to face a difficulty, like, I came up against a major challenge. Another is get around, which means finding a way to solve or avoid an issue, such as, I found a way to get around the problem. Now, listen, I came up against a problem, but I got around it. Repeat, I came up against it. I got around it. Excellent. Let's move to thinking and decision-making. One vital phrasal verb is weigh up, which means to consider options carefully, like, I weighed up my choices. Another is go for, which means to choose, I decided to go for the best option. Now, connect them, I weighed up my options and went for the right decision. Repeat, I weighed it up. I went for it. Very good. Let's continue. Sometimes you need to rule out something, meaning to eliminate an option, for example, I ruled out that idea. Another is narrow down, which means to reduce your choices, I narrowed down my options. Now, listen, I ruled out the bad options and narrowed down my choices. Repeat, I ruled it out. I narrowed it down. Excellent. Now, let's shift to communication and explanation. Occasionally you need to spell out something, which means to explain clearly, let me spell it out for you. Another is lay out, meaning to explain something step by step, she laid out the plan clearly. Now, connect them, he spelled it out and laid out the plan in detail. Repeat, he spelled it out. She laid it out. Very natural. Let's keep going. Sometimes you need to sum up, meaning to provide a brief summary, let me sum up the idea. And wrap up, which you already know. Now, listen, let me sum up everything and wrap up this discussion. Repeat, I summed it up. I wrapped it up. Excellent. Now, let's shift to reactions and outcomes. Sometimes things turn out, which you know. Another is end up, which you also recognize. Now, connect them, things turned out well, even though I ended up taking a different path. Repeat. It turned out well. I ended up doing something else. Very good. Let's continue. Sometimes you need to follow through, which means completing what you started, I followed through on my plan. Another is carry out, which you've already learned. Now, listen, I followed through and carried out my plan successfully. Now, repeat, I followed through. I carried it out. Excellent. Let's move into confidence and expression. Sometimes you need to stand up for something, which means to defend your ideas, I stood up for my opinion. Another is speak up, which you learned earlier. Now, connect them, I spoke up and stood up for what I believe in. Now, repeat, I spoke up. I stood up for it. Very strong expression. Let's build a longer, real-life narrative using these advanced phrasal verbs. I wanted to make a significant decision, so I weighed up my options carefully. I ruled out some ideas and narrowed down my choices. I came up against a few challenges, but I found a way to get around them. I decided to go for the best option and follow through on my plan. Along the way, I had to clarify my ideas, so I spelled them out and laid out my strategy. Eventually, everything turned out well, and my efforts brought about positive results. Now, pause and visualize your own situation. Let's practice again. I weighed it up. I went for it. I ruled it out. I narrowed it down. I came up against. I got around it. I followed through. I carried it out. I spelled it out. I laid it out. I summed it up. I wrapped it up. It turned out well. I ended up. I stood up for. I spoke up. Repeat slowly. Feel the confidence. Now, let's start integrating everything. You've learned a vast number of phrasal verbs across various aspects of life, morning routines, work, relationships, emotions, problems, lifestyle, and time. The key is to connect them naturally in your own speech. Visualize your entire day again and describe it in your mind using as many phrasal verbs as possible. I woke up, got up, and started off my day. I went through the routine and headed out. I ran into a few problems, but I dealt with them and worked things out. I met up with people, talked things over, and got along well. I kept up with my tasks and followed through on my plans. Even when things came up, I didn't give up. In the end, everything turned out well. Now, repeat that slowly. This is your fluency in action. Take a deep breath. You've accomplished something powerful. You can now understand and use a wide array of essential phrasal verbs in authentic English conversations. We will now do a complete, natural flow exercise, combining everything into longer speaking patterns so you can feel confident using these verbs in daily life without overthinking. Let's proceed. This is the moment where everything converges. You have learned a wide range of phrasal verbs spanning different areas of daily life, and now we will apply them in longer, natural speaking flows so your brain begins to link everything automatically. This is when your English starts to feel smooth, confident, and authentic. Visualize your whole day from the beginning and just follow the natural flow of English. I woke up early this morning. I got up slowly and turned off my alarm. I washed up, put on my clothes, and made up my bed. Then I sat down for a quick breakfast, but I realized I had run out of milk, so I stepped out, stopped by a nearby store, and picked up what I needed. After that, I returned, cleaned up, and headed out for work. On my way, I got on the bus and got off near my office. I showed up a little early, so I went over my notes and worked on a few small tasks. Soon, I ran into a problem, but I didn't panic. I broke it down, looked into the details, and worked it out step by step. Even though something unexpected came up, I dealt with it and carried on with my work. Later in the day, I met up with a colleague and we talked things over. We brought up a few ideas, weighed them up carefully, and decided to go for the best option. We teamed up, helped each other out, and followed through on our plan. Even when we fell behind for a moment, we caught up quickly and kept everything on track. During a break, I stepped out for a while and ran into an old friend. We hung out for a few minutes, caught up on life, and talked about what we had been doing recently. Even though we didn't agree on everything, we still got along well and enjoyed the conversation. In the afternoon, I had more work to finish. I kept on going, stuck to my plan, and got through all my tasks. I finished off everything I needed to do and handed in my work on time. In the end, everything turned out better than I expected. After work, I headed out again and stopped by a cafe. I ordered something simple and sat down to relax. I looked around, checked out the place, and just took it easy for a while. Later, I came back home, heated up some food, and wound down after a long day. In the evening, I decided to work on myself. I looked back at my day, learned from a few small mistakes, and thought about how to improve. I planned ahead for tomorrow, set up a simple routine, and promised myself to stick to it. I want to keep up this progress and move forward step by step. Now, let's slow down and practice together again, but this time, feel the full flow of your day. I woke up. I got up. I stepped out. I picked up. I headed out. I got on. I got off. I showed up. I worked on. I ran into. I dealt with. I worked it out. I carried on. I met up. I talked things over. I went for it. I teamed up. I caught up. I hung out. I got along. I kept on. I stuck to. I got through. I finished off. I handed in. It turned out well. I stopped by. I checked out. I took it easy. I came back. I wound down. I worked on myself. I looked back. I learned from. I planned ahead. I set up. I stuck to it. I moved forward. Now, take a moment, breathe, and imagine saying all of this in a real conversation. This is what natural English sounds like. This is how fluent speakers think, not word by word, but in connected ideas and actions. Now, let's go one step deeper. Visualize a slightly different day and follow the flow again. I woke up feeling a bit tired, but I didn't give up. I got up, washed up, and started off my day slowly. I went through my routine and tried to fit in some exercise, even though I ran out of time. I didn't let it set me back. I headed out and got on a bus. Something unexpected came up, but I figured it out and got through the situation. At work, I came up against a challenge. I thought it over, came up with a solution, and carried it out. I brought up my ideas in a meeting, spoke up clearly, and stood up for my opinion. In the end, everything worked out, and I felt more confident. Later, I met up with a friend. We hung out, talked about life, and cleared up a few misunderstandings. We made up, laughed, and decided to keep in touch. Moments like these help you grow and move on. At night, I slowed down, took it easy, and let my mind relax. I looked back at everything that happened, learned from it, and felt proud that I kept on going. Now, repeat this idea in your own way. Don't worry about being perfect. Just focus on the flow. Today, I woke up, I started off, I ran into, I figured it out, I got through, I met up, I talked about, I learned from, I moved forward. This is your English now, natural, flexible, and expressive. You've built something strong. You've practiced hundreds of essential phrasal verbs in real-life situations, and more importantly, you've trained your mind to think in English through daily actions, emotions, and conversations. Just keep practicing like this. Keep repeating, keep visualizing, and keep using these expressions in your own life, because fluency isn't about knowing more words, it's about using what you already know again and again until it becomes a part of you. Thank you so much for sticking with me throughout this lesson. I truly appreciate your time, your focus, and your effort. Today, you didn't just learn phrasal verbs, you practiced how to use them in real life, in your daily routine, your conversations, your work, and your personal growth. That is what really builds fluency. If you continue to listen, repeat, and use these expressions repeatedly, you will start to notice a major shift in the way you understand and speak English. Gradually, your sentences will become more natural. Your confidence will increase, and you will feel more comfortable expressing yourself in any situation. Try to revisit this lesson whenever you can. Repeat it, speak along with it, and most importantly, try to integrate these phrasal verbs into your daily life, even in short sentences, because consistent, small practice creates powerful results over time. If you found this lesson helpful, please support the channel and stay tuned for more daily English practice like this. We are here to help you improve step by step. Keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and I'll see you in the next lesson.